I'm here with Maurits van Tol from Johnson Matthey to discuss the journey to net zero. Good morning, Maurits.
Good morning, Richard.
Maurits, could you please introduce yourself and the company you work for in a little bit more detail?
Yeah. My name is Maurits van Tol. I'm the CTO of Johnson Matthey since October 2019. Before that, almost 8 years, I was leading the innovation and technology group at Borealis AG in Austria. And before that, I worked 19 years for Royal DSM, a large chemical firm in the Netherlands.
Thank you, Maurits. And the topic we were going to discuss today was the journey towards net zero and how do we as a society get there. What does net zero specifically mean to you and JM?
Yeah, when you look at Johnson Matthey, we are a firm really developing a lot of clean tech, sustainable technologies that help with a cleaner and healthier planet and the people that live on it. So actually, when you look at net zero, the drive, that's really at the heart of what we do. When you talk about net zero, you talk about, different ways of mobility. The transition from internal combustion engines to electrical powered vehicles, hybrids, fuel cells, and that is what JM does. Another trend that you see, of course, is the shift in energy. When there is the realization how at all the governments and actually society at large more and more that without hydrogen, it's going to be very difficult to remove the last 15-20% of carbon emissions from some of the very heavy industries, for example. So that shift towards the hydrogen economy is going to be very, very important. And JM has been a leading producer of technologies and catalysts for the production of hydrogen for a very long time. And the third trend that we see is the trend towards, yes, we need a lot of the chemical building blocks that form the basis of society, but can't we make them from different feedstocks? Low carbon intensity is also a key word in the chemical industry for the basic building blocks like methanol, formaldehyde, ammonia, and what have you. And also there, JM has a very solid position. Many of our technologies are actually quite feedstock agnostic, and in that sense, help our customers to make the transition from oil and gas as a feedstock to, for example, biomass, or hydrogen, green hydrogen, and actually even municipal solid waste, converting waste into something useful like chemical building blocks. And that is of course how we contribute most as JM, the development of our technologies and the catalysts that make sure that our customers can continue to produce chemical building blocks, can continue to produce cars, to ensure that we keep this mobility, because society, we all want to remain mobile, but in a cleaner way. But of course, net zero also means, and it's very important to Johnson Matthey and myself and the management team, is we also look at our own assets. Can we make sure that we are more energy efficient, transitions toward clean energy, but also the reduction of energy use, the reduction of water consumption and what have you. And I think that is another element, of course. So there's two ways. We see it as a great opportunity for the businesses of Johnson Matthey, but we also look at our own footprint, of course.
Excellent. Thank you, Maurits. And at times such as this, when there's a very clear, the energy transition is no longer rhetoric, it is actually taking place. A lot of companies are having to make a decision about what the future looks like and having to make that shift and looking at pivoting. How should a company make a decision on which strategy or nascent technology to actually invest in?
Yeah, and that's becoming more and more difficult, Richard. Why? Because the optionality goes up. When you look at the technology toolbox that is being developed by many players around the world, there's so many horses you could bet on. So, and how do you make sure that you bet on the right horse? For me, there's a few things to look at. First of all, a relentless innovation portfolio management. So upfront, from the myriad of options that we have, making sure you make the right bets. And how do you do that? That is really, for me, it is about, first of all, what can you contribute? So stay in that sense quite close to home. Yeah. For some of those technologies, that are out there, when you don't have the competences to contribute, you need to buy your way in, and it comes in the current times at very high multiples, and it's hard to find then synergies that you can add. So the first thing that I do is with the colleagues, look, if we want to play in a certain new area, does it fit to our competences? Can we really make a difference as Johnson Matthey? So that is for me very important. I call that for placing the big bets. But then, of course, also we are working on expanding our global innovation ecosystem so that we do make sure that we have antennas in all these startup communities, but also to other companies, know what they are developing. And then if we go into somewhat more new territories, further away from our core competences, that we also know with whom to collaborate. And I think that's another key word. We will see more and more collaborations and consortia around new technologies, because no company can do it all on its own. We need to make sure that place the big bets closer to home where you know you can make a difference. But when you want to grow the company, and we all want to do that, also place some of the smaller bets, but probably together with others. So it's relentless portfolio management. Yeah.
And that's the question of placing bets or placing educated bets.
Yeah.
How much should companies invest? Should they go all in, or should they test the waters first? I think that's some of the questions in terms of designating CapEx.
Yeah.
Where does that go?
Yeah, it links a little bit to my former answer, to be honest. You know, the bigger bets are fine. We also make very big bets as Johnson Matthey, but in technology spaces where we know we can add a lot of value because of our 200 years of history and the competences that we built during that time. So then it's quite okay to make some of the bigger bets. But if it's a little bit further away, and also because the clock speed of innovation is so high, and in many different areas, you know, I would also advise place some of those smaller bets and make sure that you, as a company, continuously review your strategy. I know from the past, companies used to do that once every 5 years or so. It's too long. It's too long. The clock speed of innovation is so high that at least once a year, you really need to review your strategy. Of course, you need to stay the course. Your long-term strategy, you know, should be valid and robust for quite some time. But the development of the external world is so fast that I would recommend at least once a year, go through it, see what has changed. It forces you to think about those things and make some adjustments so that you're not in for big surprises, but make sure that you can course correct along the way. Yeah.
And once you've decided on the strategy and the technologies or the direction the company is going to move into, when is the right time to scale up, and how quickly should a company consider that?
Yeah, that's a very good question. Of course, when you look at when to scale up, I think you will need to have done your homework to quite some degree, because scaling up, of course, is a quite expensive step. It's usually in the technology space. Yeah, it goes about pilot plans, demo plans, launching customers before you go to the really big scale, industrial scale. So that should not be a real, even not an educated bet anymore. You should be really quite certain that together with your customer or your partners that you can pull this off. So there has to be a certain level of certainty there. I think that is really, really important. But of course, when you look at some of the smaller bets in new territories, new technologies, I think there I would again recommend work with others, team up with smaller companies or with peers and say, you know, can we in this new territory hedge the bets a little bit by making sure that we collaborate, and then you can scale up also quite fast. But you all have a somewhat smaller share in the game, so the risk is a little bit lower, and the chances of success are higher, because when you form a consortia, then of course you can take players at different places of the value chain, and it gives you a lot more certainty, because the data, the information that you have, the knowledge that you have is growing very rapidly. You don't need to to guess that, or via interviews or what have you, your customers or business partners are part of the game. So you know very well together how this value chain works, and your chances of success go up as well.
Maurits, could you please summarize in a few points the journey to net zero?
Yeah, I think it was very important, actually, the way you started. These trends, the trends towards low carbon chemical building block manufacturing, the trend towards mobility, but then based on electrical vehicles, fuel cells, the energy transition towards a hydrogen-based economy. I think this is not business as usual, first of all. These are really big societal shifts, right? And they are also real, to your point. It is not like we think it's coming. It is here now. And when you look at our portfolio, the interest of our customers in our hydrogen production technologies, the fuel cells, the batteries, is of course extremely high. The same, by the way, holds true for the low carbon emitting technologies, the production of these building blocks from, for example, hydrogen, renewable electricity, municipal solid waste. People are very, very interested in that space. And I think for Johnson Matthey, that is fantastic. It's a great challenge for society and a great challenge for our researchers and our business developers and our customers. But if we work really well, this is at the sweet spot of Johnson Matthey. Is right in the heart of our competences. So that's why I believe that we are very well placed to benefit from these trends and to really contribute even more towards the decarbonization of society. And that, of course, is extremely important. I think we all know the effects that climate change has, but also from an employee point of view and a recruitment point of view. Younger people want to join a company with a purpose. And with Johnson Matthey, we can explain that so very well. Why joining JM makes you part of a journey towards net zero. And that is very appealing to young scientists. And it's a fantastic message that we can give. And for them, it's a fantastic opportunity to contribute to these very impactful changes that we see in society. So I look forward to that, to the future, actually, with a lot of enthusiasm from a Johnson Matthey point of view.
Good. Well, Maurits, thank you very much. Insightful as always, and I think it's an exciting future, definitely. So keep in touch, and we'll speak again soon. Thanks.
All right. Thank you very much. Bye, Richard.
Bye.